Week 4 of the Black and Gold Report underway. I'm your host, Matt Sabados, and finally, after the Labor Day holiday, we're in our usual studios for the show, and we've got plenty to talk about over the past week in Braves athletics. We'll lead things off with volleyball. They won their second game of the season against Shawan, but after a few cancellations due to Hurricane Irma, they're going to have a full week off leading up to the start of the Peach Belt Conference season. It'll be now over 2 whole weeks from their last home game against Shaw and the first conference game of the year against Georgia College here in Pembroke. A week from today, that game will take place, so they've got a little more time on their hands. Now for soccer, though, they already had a rain out in the season with the season opener against Coker getting rescheduled. Now, they already won that game fairly dominantly, too, but this past weekend's game against Anderson could not have been any closer. Between the two teams, now take a look at the only 2 plays that really matter here. It was a close one. Penalty kick from the Braves in the 38th minute, but an unfortunate offside keeps the Braves from taking the lead. Soccer gods were smiling on them, though, as an attempted clearance by Anderson here in the 52nd minute went the wrong way and gave the only goal of the game for the Braves. They win 1-0. Conference season starting up soon as the real campaign to try and return to the conference tournament begins. The ladies will visit Clayton State this upcoming Wednesday, and then perhaps the biggest test of the year, on the road against Columbus State, the number 2 team in the country. That's a week from today. Now, last but not least, football. It was a big game at Elizabeth City State University as the Braves looking to bounce back from the Week 1 loss to Winston-Salem State. The Braves did a complete 180. The numbers themselves won't do this game justice, but boy, was it a good day for the Braves from the opening drive. Braves set the tone of the game early, and boy, do I mean early, forcing and recovering a fumble on their first defensive play. ECSU's defense was able to recover and hold the Braves to just a field goal, but that was nowhere near the end of the day. Braves would end up turning the ball over out of the hands of ECSU 7 different times over the course of the day and tossing up 31 points from those turnovers alone. For comparison, the Braves only scored 90 points off of turnovers in all of 2016. Braves set a new program record, wrapping up with 66 total points on the day. And let's just run down some of these astronomical numbers. Dom Sampson went 15 for 29 with 3 touchdowns and not a single interception while hitting, get this, 12 different receivers over the course of the day. The Braves had 271 yards on the ground, led by this guy right here, Miles Grant, who had just 5 yards shy of the century mark on the day. Don't leave out the Braves defense either. They had a great day overall, but this play right here, it was really the only hiccup in their day, and it wasn't even their fault. Look at that. Bouncing off of 2 guys' hands into the end zone, not much you can work with. But the Braves still worked a scoreless second half, a grand total of 9 sacks and the 7 forced turnovers mentioned previously. We'll talk with head coach Shane Richardson in our next segment, and I think you'll see he's pretty content with the results leading into today's game against Catawba. That's tonight at 7 o'clock. Head to uncpbraves.com to catch the game live, and stick around right here on the Braves Media Network. Up next, we talk to the head coach. Coming up next on the Black and Gold Report. Stick around. Back in on the Black and Gold Report, Matt Sabados here with you, and it's time now for our weekly sit-down with football head coach Shane Richardson. And as you saw earlier in the show, it was a heck of a game to talk about. Let's not waste any time, mince any words. Let's just give it off to the head coach.
All right, well, Coach, obviously, it was a huge game. 66 points, program record. Did you know about that as soon as the game was over, that it was a program record? What did you tell your team?
You know, I did not know that. I knew that we had been fairly high before, but, honestly, we didn't really think about that. I think after the game, I was thinking about just all the things that I needed to really focus on to make sure that our team understands that we're not just playing for the scoreboard.
Yeah.
And I think I wanted to try to keep our guys focused, and that's really something going into this week that we want to address as well. And, 66 points is great, and obviously you feel good about that in some ways, but that's certainly not what we want to emphasize and focus in terms of our production. We want to make sure we're executing everything.
Now, I want to ask about Dom Sampson again. Obviously, he's going to be a big point of discussion as the weeks continue to roll by, but tell me about his progression from week 1 to week 2, because he's still doing a heck of a good job on the paper no interceptions, a couple hundred more yards last week. Tell me about his progression.
Yeah, I like Dom and where he's at right now. He really felt a lot more comfortable, I think, on Saturday. Scoring that many points, I think, just gives him a more of a comfortable feel and confidence. Yeah. Absolutely. So I think he's in a place right now where he's starting to be able to kind of take more risks and feel good about that. And you know, when you're a first-time guy out there in your first game, and even some of the stuff from Saturday in your second game, you're cautious and you're not willing to really exert everything that you feel like you can let loose to do. And so I think he's starting to get to that point, and felt really good about his performance on Saturday.
Well, the comfortability and the confidence, I think, attributes to one of the stats that I noticed on paper. He hit 12 different receivers in Saturday's game. That just seems incredible. Do you think that's more on the depth of what you guys have at competent, I shouldn't say competent, but prominent and talented receivers, or do you think that speaks more on Dom's growing ability to find open guys downfield?
Sure. Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both of that, and as well as I think it's probably part of our offensive game plan to make sure that we are taking what the defense gives us as well.
On their toes.
Absolutely, and I think Johnny Cox, our offensive coordinator, does a fantastic job with that. But we have very good receivers, and I really like the talent and the ability and the skill and the speed and the athleticism that we have at that position. As well as I think, you know, Dom is not going to just lock into one guy. I think he's the way that we coach him and the way that he receives coaching, he's able to really understand the game plan and understand everything from just the entire layout of it.
A lot of his passes definitely looked a little pleasing, especially that one drop in the bucket. Who was that to in the third quarter?
That was Aaron Whitaker.
Aaron Whitaker.
Yeah,
that was a heck of a play.
I was really happy for Aaron there because that was his first touchdown, I believe, and maybe even his first catch of his career. And so
that's a good way to start.
It was a great one to have that, yes.
Well, talking about someone with, I believe it was their first touchdown, Lamin scoop and score. Was that his first? He's a senior.
Absolutely. As a defensive player, he doesn't get many opportunities.
A lot of big firsts, a lot of records set during this past Saturday's game. I want to ask, the forced fumble, one of 7 turnovers, the first one on the first play from scrimmage. How much of a tone setter do you think that was for the game, or was that the tone that was already set before the ball even came loose?
No, I think that really helped because obviously last week we saw where Winston-Salem took it down and scored on the very first drive of the game. And so for our defense to come out and really set the tone like that and create some momentum, I think had an effect on our whole sideline.
Now, obviously a strong defense. Setting the tone early, forcing 7 turnovers, but there were some really key standouts. I already mentioned Lamin scoop and score, but Wirt, my bad, bit of a dyslexia there. Wirt with his 3.5 sacks, coming in, redshirt freshman, backing up a lot of your defensive linemen, but the cycling through has been phenomenal, especially in this past game. Do you think let me phrase this properly. How did you feel the strength of the whole line as a unit shined in this past Saturday's game?
Well, great. It was fantastic because in talking about our players of the game and giving some recognition to guys on defense, the defensive line stood out to all the coaches. But when you had to pick one guy, that made it very difficult.
After a game like that?
Exactly. And so the production and the numbers, I think, all kind of speak for themselves. And after we broke it down, there were a lot of quarterback hits, a lot of quarterback hurries, a lot of quarterback sacks, a lot of tackles for losses. So there was great production kind of all throughout the defensive line. And so a lot of those guys did a fantastic job and were able to get in on a lot of those plays.
Talking about production, one of the things that I feel, and I know Trevor did as well, our producer on the show, went a little bit underappreciated and always can during just about any football game, was special teams and the kickoff unit specifically, because, they got a lot of reps out on that field. 7 touchdowns, the extra field goal, and then the kickoff to start the game. There wasn't a single time they let up more than 21 yards on a single return. They were lights out. They were on target the entire time. Tell me how you feel about just the overall discipline of not just your kickoff team, but special teams as a whole unit.
Well, to address what we call hit squad as our kickoff team there, those guys, we challenged them last week because we didn't feel like it was quite up to par. And I think they really responded to that. And that's what kind of maybe you're seeing there. And I was really proud of the way that we ran down and really tried to use speed and just some courage and some understanding of being aggressive. And, Nate Williams, our kickoff guy, he did a great job in placing the ball and giving us a chance to cover those kicks and be in a position of advantage there in terms of the yardage. However, in terms of special forces as a whole, I wasn't really pleased with the way that our special forces ended up in the yardage game after this game.
Are you talking about returns-wise?
Well, it's everything. We had too many penalties on special teams is what happened. Yeah. And that was really unacceptable. And so when you start looking at what we call hidden yardage, and it's really a goal that we set on the punt and punt return units and then the kickoff kick return units, we lost it because of penalties, and we're giving up yardage there. Yeah. And, we have a philosophy, a motto that when we talk about special forces, we make the difference. And so, when we play against teams that are giving us a heck of a game, and typically that's the case, when you're in a tight ball game, your special teams have to be a difference maker for you. Yeah. And had that game been different from a score standpoint on Saturday, I'm not quite sure that I would have been comfortable with our special forces making the difference there. And so those guys need to be challenged, and we got a lot of coaching ahead of us to make sure that we get some things right on that.
And I was going to say, as a coach, it's obviously going to be a point of reference throughout this whole coming week into the game against Catawba. I'm assuming that will be one of the biggest pushes you're going to make towards your special teams.
Yeah, absolutely. It's got to be a third unit coupled with the offense and the defense that really is able to help win the game for us. And we don't take that lightly, and we try to emphasize that on a daily basis. And so those guys need to know the importance of it, and they certainly will.
Now, I know the game plan's still in its early forms, early stages against Catawba, but Pat O'Brien coming back, game 2 of the home season, and you're going to be facing off against a former player. Keeping that out of the minds of your team, I'm assuming?
Yeah, I think it goes back to what we always say in the first goal on the field. Well, it's really the third goal, but we got 3 of them. It's one that we emphasize a lot, and it's how we play, it's not who we play. Yeah. And so that goes with the team, what they're ranked, what their record is, how big they are, how fast they are, what they look like on film, certain individuals that we play against. And so there's no different there. Yeah. And so, we're familiar with Pat. Obviously, we faced him in practice a lot over the course of his experience here. But, we're going to make sure that we go out and execute our game plan and make sure we're doing everything that we can at a high level and our guys stay focused on the right things.
Should at least equal to a decent amount of fun with the familiarity between both sides.
Sure. I think, with our defense going against Pat a lot in practice, there'll be a very good amount of familiarity there.
Yeah. All right, Coach, to line it up and talking about the defense, I know I brought it up a couple of times. The 7 forced turnovers, was there any one of the 7 that you found to be a favorite? I
don't know about favorite, because as a defensive-minded coach, absolutely, we love takeaways, and to capitalize on those opportunities really feel good. Yeah. And I would say I'd go back to Alpha Lamin. He's a guy that used to play at Elizabeth City State, yeah. And so him going back there to be able to cash in on the performance that he did, be able to score a touchdown and do what he did up there, I thought was special for him. And so I think that was really neat to see that, and I was really happy for Alva.
All right, Coach. Well, as always, we appreciate the time. We look forward to talking to you next week.
Great. Thanks a lot, Matt.
Up next, cross-country coach Peter Ormsby. Stick around right here on the Black and Gold Report.
Back in on the Black and Gold Report, Matt Sabados here with you. And one of the sports we haven't really gotten a chance to discuss much of coming into week 4 of the 2017-2018 season is cross country. They've been putting some great work together on the courses they've been running. They just came off of a big race at Elon. They've got another one upcoming at the start of the conference season. And we've got an opportunity to sit down with head coach of the team, Peter Ormsby. I talked to him on the track just a couple days ago. Let's see what he had to say. Coach, one race in the books already. You raced at Elon. Just give us a breakdown. How did it go? How do you feel it went for your team? What were your likes? What were your dislikes from the end of the day?
Weather was great. I think that's the biggest takeaway, that we had a lot better weather this year. Granted, we ran at 8:30 in the morning, so we're going to have a little better conditions than we had, racing at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the afternoon. But night and day from last year to this year. A lot bigger race from a participant. So we had 12 on the girls' side, 10 teams on the guys' side. I know last year we were 6 out of 6 last year on the guys' side. So to come in 5th place out of 10 spells a lot for the guys. I think we were like 5 or 6 points out of 4th place. So we've got a lot of improvement on the guys' side. The girls' side was just we had a whole bunch of new people, so we're really excited to see what is going to happen, and to have the split that we have 1 to 5 right now is exciting going to the next couple races to see where we're going to fall out.
Well, on both sides, comparing returners to recruits, who are some of the standouts in your mind that have been, on both sides, returners, recruits, or together? Who are some of the standouts you think could make the biggest impact for your team this year?
I think on the guy side, obviously when you've got the freshman track PBC, athlete and freshman athlete and track athlete of the year with Silas Kipcoach, the guys are leaning on him, and obviously this will be his first time running American cross country. We think he's more of a track guy, so we're just kind of getting into that. So we figure he's going to be our low stick in cross, both at the conference and the regional mark. Both Jonathan and Matthew Martin had huge years last year, and Logan Ward, they're all juniors. So we're heavy up front, and then we're just looking for a couple guys to develop. And so we're basically on the guys side, we're looking for a 5th runner. What we had last year, we were looking for a 5th. On the girls' side, when we return Michaela Reynolds and Kristen Kane as our top 2 returners, and you're bringing the likes of Molly McCanns, Samantha Badami, and Corey Peethers, we've got a lot of people that are interchangeable, and that's the exciting part. If one has a bad day, we've got 4 or 5 more that can kind of lead into that role that we're missing.
So you mentioned Silas with his track experience. Not in season right now, obviously, but you're also the head coach for the track and field team, as we all know. BBC champions last year. Just tell me about that experience.
When 35, 37 years between conference championships, it kind of puts a lot of things in perspective. So we're not trying to lose sight of that, and we're the recruiting that Coach Heckroth and Coach Metzinger have done, and we brought in a GA in Caleb Weiscarver. So we're excited about what was brought in on the track side. They just started conditioning the past week and a half, 2 weeks. So we're not going to know exactly what we have on the track side until we get a lot closer to November, December, and we start racing in January. So it's going to be exciting on both sides, and we're hosting the PBC Championships for the second time in 3 years. So we're excited that hopefully we'll be able to defend at home, and be crowned another champion, and hopefully get the girls up to one more spot to their conference championships.
They didn't bring the ring along with you. You got to show it off a little more there, Coach.
Yeah, I got 2 in the office that are sitting in the box, but they're there, believe me.
You got to show it off. You got to take it around the Jones Center. Just flash the ring, flash it.
Eventually, when I'm comfortable, I'll probably do that.
All right, Coach. Well, we appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Head Coach Peter Ormsby for the cross country team. We'll be right back in just a few seconds right here on the Black and Gold Report. Back in on for the final segment of the Black and Gold Report. Matt Sabados here with you, and now it's time for what's starting to become a bit of a fan favorite here on the Black and Gold Report. It's the Teammate Challenge, and we've got a pair of new faces looking to try and top the leaderboard of McCasey and Kayla from the volleyball team. We've got a pair of defensive linemen in from the football team. Our favorites, Alpha Lamin and Khalil Vance. Let's hand it off to our reporter, Trevor Williams, and see how things went.
Well, it's week 3 of the Teammate Challenge. Things certainly heating up right now as we take a look at our leaderboard. Casey and Michaela from volleyball, they top it right now with 5 correct answers. Matthew and Jonathan, despite being twins, a little struggle last week, only 1 correct answer. That's where we're at right now in the Teammate Challenge. Just a fun segment. If you haven't seen it before, here's the rules for you. We bring in a couple student athletes from one of the UNCP fall sports teams. They're going to write down answers to my questions as quickly as they possibly can. Guests get 1 point for every matching answer. The goal is to match as many questions as possible in 90 seconds. The 2 highest scoring duos will return to play for the championship. We've got a great duo today, Khalil Vance along with Alpha Lamin right here in studio to see how they can fare in the Teammate Challenge. All right, we got Khalil and Alpha with us here as we're getting ready for the Teammate Challenge. You guys already know it's 5 to beat. You feeling pretty ready?
Yeah.
All right, awesome. Let's get to it. All right, we're going to start off here with our first question. We're going to start with, what is Alpha's favorite place to eat in Pembroke?
Oh.
See what you guys got here. Some good eats in Pembroke. Makoto's, yes. There we go. First one right. Staying with the food theme, who is the better cook? If you're not going out, you're staying in. Who cooks better?
Oh God, that's easy. That's too easy. Come on,
Boom, there we go. They got it with Alpha. Okay, what song does Khalil have to listen to before a game?
Oh man.
Playing on that headset, lots to pick from.
Man, we playing to win, so. Oh man, we playing to win, so.
He's saying they're playing to win. Let's see what they turn around.
Let's see who win.
Angel Weekend, boom, 3 for 3. Here we go. Who has the better sack celebration? Lots of sacks. Who has the better celebration?
I don't get too many sacks. I moved inside, so gotta give that the.
Alpha, boom, another one right. All right, how many kids does Coach Richardson and his wife Jenna have?
Oh man, that's a lot, man. Dang. I hope I got this wrong. Oh, I think it's.
Oh, 6 and 5. You guys have 4 kids.
Oh.
Who was more competitive of the two?
Who
was more competitive of the two?
That's a hard one.
4 correct answers right now, trying to tie with 5 for the lead. Alpha, yes, they got it. That's their 5th one. Who is the better driver? We got 10 seconds left.
God,
who's the better driver?
That's easy. Come on, man.
One had car trouble just getting here. Oh, no, you guys disagree. One more question. Who's Alpha's Celebrity Crush? Celebrity Crush. We'll give it to you if you can get the...
You should know mine. I don't think I know yours, though, but you should know mine. God damn.
Okay, you guys are good. I think with the 5, so you guys tied it up with 5. Congratulations, guys. One thing I do want to say, we had the better sack celebration. I need to see it.
Okay,
what's the dance? Yeah, let's see the
dance. Let's do it. I gotta do it.
Yeah, let's see it. Let's see the celebration.
Oh man,
how do you celebrate it? You just got him in the backfield.
Go ahead. I just got him in the backfield, man. This one I like to work on. You know what I mean? Shout to bring this one out. Yeah. Which one do you want? Okay, I like just.
Just a little bit going there. All right. Hey, guys, thank you. Good job. We might be seeing you down the line. Great job, guys.
Well, thank you, Trevor. We appreciate that. We'd like to thank Alpha and Khalil for stopping by. We'd also like to thank head coach Peter Ormsby of the cross-country team and, of course, head coach Shane Richardson of football for stopping in as he does every week. We'd also like to thank everyone here at our Old Main studios, the fantastic crew, our producer Trevor Williams, and, of course, you for tuning in for today's show. Have a great rest of your week, folks. We'll see you next time around here on the Black and Gold Report.